Today I'm going to be talking about chainsaw swords. So I'm not actually talking about chainsaw swords. It's actually chainsaw bar swords. When I've had a chainsaw just wear down its bar too much to be able to properly cut anymore, I take the used bars. They are a type of hardened steel and use it as practice material for making blades. This one was one I made most recently out of a old chainsaw bar that my dad had been using since I was really young, and it turned out all right. The handle, I completely by accident made that style of grip, and it ended up making for a very nice handle. Unlike my other messer, this handle guard is not loose. For the fittings on the handle, I used brass pins. All in all, this one did turn out quite nice for comfort. Cons about it is, in the process, I had like 5 or 6 different changes for the spine of the blade, so it has a kind of a weird forward tilt on the blade spine itself. I was using one of my own belt grinders this time, unlike with my Idaho Bowie. When I welded in the tang on the handle, because the way a chainsaw bar looks, it has a big slot in the end along with the bolt holes. That slot is for adjustment so that you have somewhere it's still holding on to the main body of the saw motor itself. I had to weld in a fitted socket for the handle, so basically in that slot I made another piece that fit like a puzzle piece that fit into that slot on the handle, and the problem was the welder I had would not arc and I was unable to get it to properly weld, and it ended up burning through the steel some. As you can see, it's got several pockets right here near the guard, and the guard itself, it was forged out, so I also have some blemishes there as well. I liked the more rough look to it. It looked more used, like it had a history. I wish I could fill those voids. Hopefully one day I can, but it'll be a little more difficult now that it's actually put together. I did also leave this one dull. I likely will, unlike the other one, round off the points on this one, as well as do a little bit more rounding on the edge of the blade, so I can use it as a reenactment blade, especially for my handgunner kit. It's honestly a perfect size messer for that. It's more like a large fighting knife than it is a full-on sword. Unlike my other sheaths, this one, it didn't turn out so good. It's very blocky looking. Kind of struggled with trying to figure out to shape it. I was trying to get a little more precision shaping done with this one, unlike the one I did for my other messer where I was just focusing on the shape. I wasn't thinking about how consistent the shape was. I did with this one. This was after I learned about the felt trick. Put a felt keeper in the inside before I glued everything together, so the sword isn't gonna fall out easily, and it's just got a single belt. This one doesn't sit as securely on the hip. It flops around a little bit more, but it does well enough to keep it in place and serve its purpose. Total impressions I have of this one, even with me making it, I have no maker's bias for this one because of just how much of a struggle it was in the full process of making it. The only positives I have are really about that handle shape. It's more of a 4 out of 10. If I saw this anywhere else, I would not buy it. I would not want it. I would not put much money into it. It was a practice piece, and I liked how the handle turned out, so I kept it. Used a strong enough material with it that I'd be able to use it for more than just a practice piece. It's one that I have no qualms about. The next chainsaw bar blade this was all one chainsaw bar. I believe it was a 4-footer for the bar length itself. And this is actually the second version of this one. It originally was stylized as a Nordic sea axe, and the way the blade looked is nothing like what it looks now. Now I had gone for more of a messer style blade, and it ended up making for a very nice shape for a hunting sword. Small hunting sword, something that I could use for lopping up joints of a deer when dressing it out, which I did do once, and it did work pretty well for that. It was not a deer I hunted, it was actually one a buddy of mine hunted, and I asked him if I could try it on it. Worked pretty nice. The biggest drawbacks I have about this one, it's not actually in the blade this time, it is all in the handle. The handle is copying I think it's a 1917 pattern cavalry sword handle scale that I repaired once in the past for a friend. And it does feel nice in the hand with that shape, especially since it's being used for a sword that's meant for a thrust and long cut. So it fits into the contour shape of the hand more. The guard, oh boy. I had no idea what I was doing when I first put this together, and the guard ended up being a bit of a disaster. It's riveted in. So I had cut a slot in a piece of 1/2 inch or 3/8 inch brass dowel, and I put 3/8 inch brass pins in it. Likely that really weakened the handle, so this is not something that could take a lot of impact because that's a lot of material that got taken out. That's 3/8 of an inch of material lacking in the handle, even though this handle scale is to the width of the tang. It more than likely is not going to be a fighting knife of any kind. It'll just stay as a hunting sword. It was able to cut right through the joints of the deer very nicely. After cleaning it, it did leave some black staining on the blade that I can't get off. This side is a little bit divoted. Some of that is actually just from long-term rust that was on the original chainsaw bar that went so deep that if I was to keep trying to grind it back, it would start making this a little bit too thin for my taste of what I need it for. It is very strong for the flex. Yeah. But what do you expect? It's made out of a chainsaw bar, something that is designed to flex some when cutting, but needing to retain its shape. So chainsaw bars do work great for all kinds of practice blades, whether it be daggers, small hunting swords, messers, you name it. But yeah, the handle also, this was before I learned more about how to pin in a type of tang. This one is not epoxied, and it has 2 brass rivets holding it together. I didn't know how to properly line up rivet holes at the time, and it ended up when I put the top rivet in, cracking one side of the handle. I filled that void at one point with super glue, but it looks like it's all just washed away from the sweat of my hand just swinging around. So this handle is going to break eventually, and I'll need to remake it. When that happens, I'll likely redo the guard, fill in those voids with a plug weld so that maybe the handle will be a lot stronger. Now, the sheath is interesting. I wanted to try something new with this, and I did a double layer of leather in it. So on the inside, there's a secondary layer of leather on the inside here. And the reason for that is to give a blade wear area, so something that the blade can cut into before and keep cutting into before it starts cutting into the main part of the leather sheath. I also wanted to try what I'd seen in a lot of different blades, a metal backer along the back of the spine. And I used a copper pipe that I had cut down the full length of and pinned in on the back side. So it's all copper on the back here, along with the fittings and fixtures. I was trying a lot of new things I'd never done before with this one. Turned out fairly nice. And I don't really have much room to complain on how that turned out. Because of that double leather layer on the inside, it allowed me to add a secondary sheath for a small skinning knife to go with the sword. I'll get in that in a minute. That's also made from a chainsaw bar. But the sheath itself turned out pretty nice. The style I went with for the sheath fits the standard belts I use. So it hangs here, and the purpose for this is to attach to the tongue of the belt. Currently, all the belts that I have made for this style of sheath, I have ended up turning them into sword belts for hangers of the new swords I've gotten recently. So I need to make a new belt more dedicated to this one. The sheath is kind of nice. It has some flaws. Would I remake it? Probably. With what I know now, I can do better. So the skinning knife I made for it, similar style of handle that I copied off of that cavalry scale. It had a little bit more modifications put into it to fit the hand a little more comfortably. And I like how it turned out. It can be used in a way of a fighting knife if necessary, and the way that handle fits in the hand is quite nice. There is a downside where along the back of the spine, you can see the slot where the chainsaw bar, its track was at, And that is a flaw in this knife, but because it's used in a different way than being a double-edged knife, it doesn't really detract from it because that slot is milled into what this chainsaw bar was. It's not 3 scales that are welded together. It was one piece and they milled out the edge. The knife itself, not much to say about it. It functions as a knife does. It works just fine. It's tapered back flat and wedge-like all the way to the spine. The ranking I give this one is a 5 out of 10. I like the double blade setup it has on this sheath so that I actually have a more tool knife along with the purpose blade for lopping up the joints of a deer. The 5 out of 10 also comes from the flaws that I built into the handle in the early days of blade making before I knew what I was doing. So it's a little difficult to really say exactly why I give it that rank. It just feels right for this one. Though that's my own opinion. Like I said, some of these I might have maker's bias in the last video. However, I'm pleased with it. It's not one I would feel like I could sell, but if I could come up with a proper design one that didn't have all these flaws, likely a lot of people would want it because it's a purpose-built blade for hunting. So that was my review of both of my chainsaw bar blades. Hopefully this helps you out in the future with trying to make your own and finding materials of how to make it. These both were a good learning process for me to just discover and learn how to do it, as well as finding out a lot of mistakes in the process. I would do it again, honestly, just to fix those mistakes, and I probably will. I have more chainsaw bars, more saw blades, all kinds of material for making more similar blades like this, though most of them likely will be knife-sized rather than sword-sized. But beyond that, I am quite pleased with these. So let me know what you think in the comments of both of these, whether or not you liked the small messer or the hunting sword, and if I should do more videos like this in the future. After last week's my own personal blade that I've made, I kind of enjoyed going over my own work and just sharing my learning process in it, so I might do this again in the future with some more stuff that I've made. In the meantime, take care, and look forward to seeing you in the next one.